Hello, my friends. I hope you are having a fantastic day. It's been an interesting period of time for me. So this will probably be a short and quick video just because it's a little late from watching the news and kind of tired and ready for bed. That said, I have two different stories to look at and something else to check in on. And what these stories, I'm just going to tell you up front what these stories say to me. Both of these stories say to me that BioWare has basically given up on DragonAge. I have a tiny theory that the only reason that they bothered releasing Veilguard was that they honestly just wanted to get it out of the pipeline. The way that you know what, I'll save that for a second. The first thing is they're very clearly telling us they don't want to do a DragonAge trilogy compilation or any kind of graphical update. For one, in my opinion, Inquisition doesn't need it. That's just me. It's new enough. Going back and remaking it or remastering it, preferably remastering it, is entirely pointless. DragonAge, the original, could definitely do with a remaster. I've still got to sit down and fuck with it a bit because I should somehow be able to get it working on my computer. Please don't recommend that 48 gigabyte patch or whatever because I've already used it. It hasn't worked for me. I've got to try to get it off of GOG, I think, and try that version and see if maybe something with the DRM and a few other things maybe work. But until I have the time to really do that, I'm not going to really have a chance. Sad thing is it worked just fine on my NVIDIA 2080 and my old laptop. Apparently the 4070 in my new computer doesn't like it. Or maybe it's the processor upgrade. I don't know. Either way, it's frustrating and irritating. But the reason they are saying that they will likely not do a DragonAge update is because there are only a few people left at BioWare that actually used the Eclipse engine, which was the video game engine that Dragon Age Origins and Dragon Age 2 were built on. I probably don't know enough about game development to really have a good idea on what that would mean. Inquisition was made in Frostbite, just like the Veilguard, which definitely gives you a good idea of why the art style changed in the way it did. The Frostbite engine is apparently leaning a specific way. Mass Effect, however, had been built in Unreal, so it was much easier to deal with, which makes me wonder why they just don't use Unreal. But whatever. Apparently there are maybe about 20 people still working at BioWare that have any idea. I would think 20 people would be enough. But again, I'm not a game dev. And my big thing is I don't believe that they think it's worth the money. If the release of the Veilguard taught me anything, it's that they don't actually care about DragonAge anymore. At least not the original world and story. They were very quick to abandon any pretense of your choices, even though they actually include dialogue that discuss specific choices that you would have made within the game through Harding. I wish I had those images, but once I read them, I got too pissed. But they are really just looking to cut and run. If there's one thing that tells me that a game is not doing well, it's the fact that they're not willing to do any DLC for it. Now, of course, the reason they're saying they're doing that is because they're shifting entirely to the next Mass Effect. So they need the whole team working on that. So I can't do anything with the Veilguard. But God only knows when we will see the next Mass Effect game. Could be another 10 years for all we know. And realistically, looking at Veilguard, those of you who love Mass Effect, I'm not sure you want them to do it. I find it amusing because the end of this article says it remains to be seen when more information about the game could be revealed, that being Mass Effect 5. But some are predicting news could come as soon as this week. That's because Mass Effect Holiday N7 Day takes place this Thursday, November 7th. However, there have been a lot of warnings on Twitter to not get too excited, because apparently the N7 Day is going to be quieter than in the past, whatever that means. Now, before we wrap things up entirely, I figured we would take a quick peek at how the Veilguard is doing in numbers, giving us maybe a little bit of insight as to why they wouldn't be doing any DLC. You'll see here that as of now, their all-time peak was 89,418. That was reached over the weekend, which Yeah, I can see that being about where it ended. Their 24-hour peak is 58,644 with of course 23,000 playing right now, and it is 2 a.m. so I can't necessarily say that I'm particularly surprised that there are that few people playing because it's 2 a.m. People are now claiming that the Veilguard is being review bombed on Metacritic, which, I mean, big shock. And Metacritic has apparently addressed this, whatever that means. And this article was published 16 hours ago, which I find interesting. This says, despite some players being frustrated at the game's perceived wokeness and all that other stuff, the players' numbers have increased. That's not what the Steam data tells me. So unless there's something else in the console data that we are not seeing, I don't understand how that is necessarily true. As you can see, if I move a little bit out of the way here, on Metacritic, it currently has an 83 for the critic score, but a 3.8 for the user score. Now, they're blaming this on the fact that you don't have to purchase the game to review the game on Metacritic, whereas on Steam, you do, in fact, have to buy the game, which is why they believe that it is currently sitting at a 73% overall. Even though, as I understand, because of the fact that you have to either rate a game positive or negative, a lot of these have positive reviews, but basically say, don't play it. You have in these comments stuff about how they don't include the prior game choices, about the fact that it has changed up the battle system, that it's not as deep in the storytelling. There's actually a lot of comments about the fact that the storytelling is worse. There are comparisons to DragonAge 2, actually very much like this paragraph in this review that says, initially it seems funny, but it gets old very fast. Looking at Tosh from a USA gender politics point of view, I'm guessing the character was written by a Republican conservatist who had never met a non-binary person before, so just wrote, wah, wah, don't tell me what I am. To be fair, there's crybabies everywhere, and plenty of people pick a struggle and do make it their personalities, so good job. That's not exactly something I would consider part of a glowing review. Of course, you couldn't see that because that was in my Steam window. Oops, sorry. But I'm sure you can check that out on your own if you care to. Now, the big difference between Steam reviews and Metacritic reviews, other than purchase, is the fact that you actually have the ability to rate it on more of a scale. You don't have to rate it good or bad. As you see here, we have 0, 1, and 3 all on the same page right here. Now, you do have 29% positive versus 64% negative, and it's hard to say if all these people really played the game or not. I don't know. I'm imagining a lot probably didn't. But in the end, no matter what they're telling us, this game is not doing as well as they want us to think it is. If it was, they would be more than happy to do DLC because they could make more money and gain more interest, as opposed to just moving on immediately to Mass Effect. But all that said, guys, are you surprised there will be no DLC for Veilguard? I'm not. I'm also not particularly surprised that they have no interest in really remastering the first 3 games. I will be surprised if they're really around all that much longer. But as I said previously, I'm no expert in these matters. So let me know down in the comments what your thoughts are. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the notifications. If you really liked it, you can feel free to share it around, and I will catch you later.